For a short, absolutely wild period, there was this digital gold rush that just exploded in the Philippines. But get this, it had nothing to do with mining for actual gold. Nope, it was all about playing a video game. We're going to dive into the story of how thousands of people literally found a new way to make a living through crypto and what this huge real world experiment really taught all of us.
So let me ask you a question. Could you earn a real living, like pay your bills kind of living, just by playing a video game? I know, it sounds like a total fantasy, right? But for a while there, for tons of people in the Philippines, the answer was a huge yes. And we're not talking about just a little pocket change share. We're talking about an income that was often higher than the local average wage. So how on earth was that even possible?
Well, this whole thing was built on a model they called play and earn. And honestly, the name says it all. It turned the time you spent in a game directly into actual spendable money. So here's the basic idea. These games are built on the blockchain. And what that means is that the things you did inside the game, battling little creatures, farming for resources, whatever, it actually earned you special crypto tokens. Think of them like digital rewards for your digital work. And crucially, these weren't just imaginary game points. No way. They were real assets that had actual value on the open market.
Okay, so what did this actually look like for a player day to day? Let's use the biggest example, a game called Axie Infinity. First, you just play the game. You'd complete your daily quests. Then, boom, the game rewards you with its crypto tokens. Next step, you'd pull those tokens out of the game and into your own personal crypto wallet. And then, here's the magic part, you take those tokens to a crypto exchange and swap them for your local currency. And just like that, what you did in a game turned into money for groceries.
And this is the part that really made everyone's heads turn. At the peak of this whole thing, the value of those game tokens shot up so high that players were making some serious money. For so many people, it was a lifeline. Playing this game was actually more profitable and easier to get into than a lot of the traditional jobs that were available.
But you know how these things go. The hype eventually started to fade, the dust settled, and this massive kind of accidental experiment, well, it revealed some really important lessons. Let's break down the three hard truths that came out of this whole play and earn boom. All right, truth number one is all about why people jumped in. And let's be real, it wasn't because they were suddenly fascinated with the intricacies of blockchain technology. Nope. They joined because they saw a super clear, super obvious path from I do this in the game to I get paid. The money was the entire hook. The tech was just the vehicle. But this had a pretty fascinating side effect. To actually get their money out, people had to learn the crypto basics. It was like this accidental, massive crypto education program, all driven by the simple need to get paid. All of a sudden, you had hundreds of thousands of people setting up digital wallets, learning how to manage their private keys, the super important passwords for their funds, and figuring out how to use exchanges for the very first time.
Okay, but that brings us to the second hard truth, and this one is absolutely critical. That income, it wasn't stable. It turned out it wasn't just about how much effort you put in. Your paycheck was actually tied to something way more unpredictable: the game's internal economy and the hype train of the crypto market.
See, on the surface, the idea looked so simple. Play more, earn more. Easy, right? But the reality? Oh, the reality was so much more complicated and fragile. Your earnings were actually a mix of your gameplay, plus high demand for the tokens from the market, plus, and this is key, a never-ending stream of new players joining. The second that growth slowed down and the hype died, the token prices crashed, and the incomes crashed right along with them. And that leads us right into the third hard truth. It exposed this huge gap between knowing the how-to and understanding the what-if. What I mean is, players got really good at the step-by-step process of earning money. But very few of them understood the bigger economic risks, the what-ifs, that could literally make their entire income vanish overnight. Think about it like this. Almost everybody knew the mechanics, how to play, how to earn, how to cash out. But only a tiny sliver of them really got the dangers of token inflation or what a market downturn would actually mean for them. So when things did change, most people couldn't adapt. Their knowledge was all practical, not strategic. So after all that, what's the big lesson here? Why should we care about this story from the Philippines when we think about the future of crypto or even just digital jobs in general? Well, that's where the real insight is. Really, it comes down to this.
This whole thing showed us in vivid detail how powerfully people will jump into crypto when there's a real, immediate financial reward. But it also showed us just how incredibly fragile that whole system is when people don't have a deeper grasp of the economics holding it all up.
So, in the end, it's not fair to call the play and earn boom a simple success or a total failure. It was something way more valuable. It was a massive case study. It gave us hard data on how people actually learn, use, and, yeah, sometimes abandon these new financial technologies. What we learned is that immediate income is an incredibly powerful driver. But an entire economy built only on that driver, it's standing on pretty shaky ground.
And that really leaves us with the big question looking forward. Is that promise of immediate income enough to build a whole new, sustainable digital economy? Or is it all just a beautiful house of cards, waiting for the slightest breeze to knock it all down? Definitely something to think about.